So the big idea of this particular talk is to look at language and concepts around sexual orientation and gender identity and help us understand how to be more inclusive within the fire service. So we're going to look at very basic, I think, understanding of 4 aspects of being human, which would be what's the difference between our biological sex and our gender identity, our gender expression, and our sexual orientation. They're all 4 separate aspects of being human. And they're very misunderstood. It sounds like simple language, but people get very confused by those. And bringing it to the fire service, talking about sexual orientation has always scared the fire service, and scared a lot of people, not just the fire service. And the fire service, I'm not here, and in any of the presentations that I do anywhere on the planet around gender and gender diversity, gender inclusivity, and sexual orientation or gender identity, it's not to pick on the fire service, right? Our societies are homophobic. Our societies are transphobic. Our societies are sexist and racist. So we're not picking on us in the fire service. We didn't make it up. We're a microcosm of the bigger society. But I think particularly kind of leading edge work, I've been doing a lot of anti-racism and anti-sexism work for decades. And I think kind of the leading edge right now for our conversations in the fire service is really taking a look seriously at how to be more inclusive of folks regarding sexual orientation and gender identity. So that's the session's going to do, to help us clarify some of that language so that we're not so nervous about using the language and understanding it a little bit better, and then seeing where do we need to go in the fire service to be sure we're being inclusive of folks based on gender identity and sexual orientation. It's important for the fire service because we've been so, frankly, afraid of the conversation. People don't know what to do when somebody says they're gay. So we want to be able to have the conversation and create a more inclusive atmosphere. Our mission is to serve the public. And that means we need everybody. We need everybody's skills and everybody's experiences to help serve the public. For pretty much every woman in fire and emergency services, if she made it through academy, makes it as a firefighter, moves forward to be a company officer or a chief officer, she's had to have been stepping up and standing out her whole career. Because even if we don't intend to stand out, there's so few of us, we stand out. And I think I came before the fire service, I worked in several what would be called non-traditional roles for women. I was a building contractor. I was a stagehand and theater electrician. I was the 3rd woman in the United States as an electrician, a stage electrician in the union. So there were lots of non-traditional roles, and so it felt not comfortable but familiar to move into the fire service, where again we're a smaller group. I think part of the conversation about stepping up for women is that we have been so thoroughly trained in sexist societies and misogynist societies. We've been so thoroughly trained to not step up, to not stand out. And when we're little girls, it's the same message as little boys got about girls, is girls shouldn't be loud, shouldn't step up, right? Shouldn't stand out, should be in the background. Well, we got the same messages as little girls. So having to overcome that, particularly to work in a male-dominated field, requires a significant level of courage and support, which is why WAFA is so important for the young women coming in, to be able to have role models that are older and still loving the profession, and to be able to support each other, and not, because one of the messages we're also taught is we shouldn't trust other women, right? That's one of the messages. So WAFA helps break that down, because we need to support each other and trust each other, particularly in this what non-inclusive up to hostile environments for some of the women, I'm sure, that have had to deal with that. So we're having to overcome lots of years of teaching. Find a femtor. Find a woman who loves this job. Find a woman who has managed to move to a place that she is still excited about. Pick her brain. That's a U.S., I don't know, do you say pick her brain? And if that's not possible, find a woman who has worked in policing or other non-traditional roles to talk about that journey, to talk about what's helped you. Because I think after a while, you sometimes forget what helped me get here. The other big advice I would say is be sure you take advantage of WAFA. Take advantage of that network here anytime you have an opportunity to do that. And then create your own cadre of support of other women that are at your rank or role, so that you're saying, what are you going through today? Can I talk about this? This is what happened today. What do I do now? And learn from each other and help each other do that. So we need to support one another. The last thing I would say is make sure that if you're able, in your service, to find one or two of the men who are actually allies to us, the male champions of change, as they're being called here, but that not necessarily your rank or role, but it's one of the guys who gets why it's important that we're here, is not threatened by the women that are there, because we have to train them too, and we have to support them, because they're the ones that should be stepping up and standing out against the sexism and the comments and whatever's happening. It's not good enough for us to say it. Yeah, we need to step up as well and say this isn't all right, but it's going to be necessary to have the male allies do that as well. So we're taking advice from women who have been in for a while, their journey, learning from women that were networking at our same rank or role to say, let's help each other get through this, even if you're in one department by yourself and I'm in another, or shift by ourselves, then we talk, and then help educate the male allies to also take this on and make it a more inclusive department.
Yes.
So tell you a story. Okay. A friend of mine is a firefighter. She's in an engine company. So she's the officer in this station, and there are no other women on her crew on her shift, and she's the officer, and there's two guys on her shift with her on the engine, the pump. You call them pumps? Engine, pump. So her sister has a little girl who's about 6 years old. And anytime they would visit the sister's house, my friend would bring her gear, and the little girl would try on her gear and hear about stories and try on the helmet and all that stuff. So she was very used to understanding that her aunt was a firefighter, and that just was cool, right? So one day, the firefighter's sister and little girl came to her station, had never done that before. So they're at the station, and here she is, the officer, and the two guys are prepping the truck to go out for some call. And at one... Anyway, you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's just keep going.
So the little girl and her mom come to the fire station for the very first time. And after a little while of looking at her aunt and these two guys, she goes like, you probably can't see it, but she pulls on her mom's coat. And she says, "Mom, look, boys can be firefighters too."